your haircut there.
Oh yeah, she did a good job braiding it this time.
This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire Stick TV, Facebook, and YouTube. Get all your sports news here first. The daily podcasts are Ken and Ken in the Morning, Lions Talk with Smoking Jeremy B, Wrestling Roundup, The Big Football Show, and more, Shield TV, Lions Villain Report, and Red Zone Rant. The afternoon podcasts are Valhalla, Grosef Sports, WCFL Dolphins Talk, The Cheap Seats, The Bodkin Show, Spirit of Detroit Podcast, and Maniacs. The nightly podcasts are Palace Hall Report, Frozen Tundra Network, Skull Gang 365, The Huddle Sports Network Open Mic, First and 10 with Foz, Main Event Football Show, Prime Sports World, The Man Cave, Prim and Proper Sports. Spitballing Podcast, Lions Fan Cave Chat, Puckett, 313 Den Podcast, The Guys Huddle, Shots from the Sideline, Let's Talk Sports, The Michigan Truth Sports Podcast, Off the Rails, NFC Northeast, Power Hours, and Detroit Lions News. Make sure you follow, like, share, subscribe, and comment. Hope you like all the shows.
And good morning and welcome to another edition of the External Bum Show. I'm Ralph Williams, and today we have special guests in here today, Mike SISZAK from the Amped Up Sports, along with Leo Haggerty from Amped Up Sports, and we're short Jeremy. Jeremy's off today, and Scott Morganroth is not with us today either, but we have Mike to fill in for Scott, and Jeremy will join us again next Saturday. He's under the weather. All right, guys, it's great to have you on board here this morning. Start with you, Mike. Tell everybody where you're from and what's going on, and we'll move on to Leo. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Like SISZAK, I cover the DC area sports for Leo and Amped Up Sports. You can also catch me on the Too Many Guys Soccer Show, the worst 120 minutes or so in all of sports podcasting.
All right, Leo Haggerty. Good morning, Leo. Welcome to the program from Amped Up Sports as well.
Yeah, and Mike and I go all the way back. Mike, over 20 years when he first came on.
Yeah, it's about 20 years now, Leo.
Huh?
It's about 20 years now.
I know. Yeah, Mike's been with us for 20 years, Ralph, and he came back when we were First Night Sports Productions, and in fact, he wrote an article that almost got him in trouble from over in embedded somewhere in the Middle East, right, Mike?
Yes. Well, I was in Thulumani in northern Iraq. It's okay. It's no secret now.
Yeah, it was then, though.
The worst kept secret in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Yeah, Mike's been with us, and he's one of a plethora of correspondents we have at Amped Up Sports.
All right. I want to thank Michael, the one of the owners of Huddle Sports Network. We spoke this morning, starting real soon here, probably in the next week or so. I'm going to be putting one of my shows at 11 o'clock p.m., one of my Sports Corner, either the Tuesday show or the Saturday afternoon radio show, on Wednesday night at 11 p.m. on the Huddle Sports Network. So if you're up at 11 p.m. and you're bored with the news, you can watch the Sports Corner show. Also, speaking of Sports Corner Radio, this afternoon, 2 to 3 p.m., this is the second show of the triple header of Ralph Williams every single Saturday. We started at 8 o'clock this morning with the Ralph Williams show, and my guest was Tony Moreno, former Republican candidate for mayor of the city of Pittsburgh. And then now we're here for the External Bum Show. And then this afternoon, 2 to 3 p.m., 1250 a.m., 92.5 FM. The Answer with me, Ralph Williams, Smoking Jim Frazier, Claudia Rosano, and Luther Dupree. And on Tuesday, for the Sports Corner show on Tuesday, Mike is going to join us. We're going to talk about the Baltimore Ravens, the Washington Commanders, and the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Pittsburgh Steelers season this year. All right, let's get started with our first segment, which we always do. And this segment is brought to you in part by the Scott Morgan Ross book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders, written by Scott Morgan Roth, who is the editor-in-chief and also owner of the South Florida Tribune Network. And I want to thank him as well for having our shows on, simulcasting them, like on Thursday, have me on Fire Up and several other shows. So I just want to thank him for that as well. All right. So Bloss 22 is here. Josh Dorr. I want to thank you guys for your, I already gave you that answer, Josh. And then Bloss 22, thank you as well for being part of the program. All right. Let's see here. Let's get into our bum segment here. We'll start with you, Mike, since you're our guest here. You're bum for today, this morning.
After thinking about it long and hard, I keep arriving at one name. I got to go with the boss man, Jerry. My bum of the week is Jerry Jones. Everybody looks at Jerry Jones, and if you are worth $17 billion, you probably did something right. But everybody looks at Jerry and says, oh, well, he must know what he's doing. He's the owner of the Cowboys, and his net worth has increased exponentially just by the fact that he owns the Cowboys and the natural inflation of the value of sports teams. But let's be honest, this is a man who has not advanced past the divisional round of the playoffs, his team, since 1995. Last week, he decides after a week, after denying Mike McCarthy the ability to interview for other jobs, oh, you know what? I really actually don't want him as head coach, a decision that he probably could have made eons ago. Let the guy go out and get a job. So this comes on the heels of a disappointing season in which Jerry said that he was all in and managed to push all of his chips to the center of the table and do absolutely nothing in the offseason except wait, negotiate upon himself and overpay Dak Prescott and CD Lamb because he waited so long. Then he lets Mike McCarthy coach on an expiring contract. They have a disappointing season. He waits a week, denies Mike McCarthy an early opportunity to interview for jobs, ends up getting rid of him anyway, has a conversation with Dion, but can't decide whether or not he wants to actually hire him, decides that he wants to interview Kellen Moore, who wasn't this the guy that you got rid of last year because you didn't think that he was good enough to be your offensive coordinator, but he goes into a better situation in Philadelphia, has a successful season, and all of a sudden he's good. You know what's going to end up happening? They're going to end up hiring Jason Witten as head coach. And can somebody please remind me of Jason Witten's head coach bona fides? Oh, that's right. He has none. So my bum of the week is Jerry Jones. Just because you're worth a lot of money doesn't mean that you're actually good at what you do.
Leo Haggerty, you're bum with today.
You know what? I'm going to go on the same thread as Mike. How about the Chicago Bears? What? Here's my thing. Why are they not calling up Ron Rivera immediately and offering him this job? Here's a guy who is Chicago Bears royalty, was part of the 46 defense that completely obliterated the National Football League that year, except for Miami, one game. But the fact that they're sitting around and waiting, Ron Rivera, when they decided, okay, we're moving on the end of the season, Ron Rivera should have been the first call they make, because here's a guy with head coaching experience. Here's a guy that's dealt with a big-time quarterback. And you know what? If I'm a head coach, maybe Ron Rivera, like everybody else, is looking at this long and hard and saying, man, this organization is dysfunctional. I don't want to go here. So we'll see what happens. And, we'll all talk about Johnson out of Detroit. Why would he want to go there? I got a feeling he may just sit tight and wait for a better job next year. So, yeah, the Chicago Bears, they're my bum.
Leo, I can tell you why they didn't interview Ron Rivera. 102, 103, In all his seasons as head coach, he's had exactly 4 winning seasons. And do you remember how it ended with the Washington Commanders?
Yep.
Not exactly a great way to go out. So if I'm looking at a guy to develop a quarterback, is the guy that I really want to develop Caleb Williams, the guy who developed Dwight Haskins or Alex Smith or Taylor Heineke?
Point well taken, Mike.
All right, guys. I know you guys are asking where Jeremy and Scott is. Scott is taking some show time off here from this show, and Jeremy is probably under the weather. Those of you, but I want to welcome Pensman to the show. Pensman, thank you very much for your comments. We're doing quite well this morning, and I gave you the answers to where Jeremy is, and so there we are with that. All right, okay. My bum today is the New York Jets, because you know why? The New York Jets are another team that just consistently goes through coaches and make bad decisions in their personnel department. They not only make bad decisions, they've had some bad drafts, they've drafted some bad talent, and then on top of that, they fire a guy like Robert Saleh because Aaron Rodgers says he wants him fired. Well, you know what? Aaron Rodgers is really not the coach. He's just a player. And I brought this up before. I said this on Thursday on the Fire Up show, that I think that the coaches and the ownership need to take back their teams instead of letting the players dictate what goes on, like Caleb Williams, perhaps. Okay, that's asking for certain coaches and certain things to go on. You know what? Quit letting the inmates run the asylum. That's why some of these teams stink. That's why some of these teams, like the Steelers, are not in the playoff, or not further along in the playoffs, because they let the inmates run the asylum. All right, guys.
Hey, Ralph, when you talk about the inmates running the asylum, that's NBA, isn't it?
Yeah, NBA does the same thing. Exactly. You know, and the NBA is not like it used to be. There used to be defensive games. Now it's all over 100 games, and it's a bunch of showboat. And I don't watch the NBA anymore. I haven't watched it since Jordan was in it. So, you know, I'm just not an NBA fan. All right, this next segment, we're going to talk about the NFL coaching searches and the teams that are looking for coaches and our thoughts and opinions. And speaking of Jeremy, since everyone's been asking, there he is. Good morning, sir.
I apologize for being late.
Oh, that's okay. I don't, you know what I say, don't you? It's better late than never.
Oh, yes.
All right, Jeremy, you're since you just came up here, you're bummed for today.
Me for being late.
Throw yourself under the bus.
Yes, I did. How are you doing today, Mike?
I'm doing great, Jeremy. Good to see you as always.
And you, Leo?
Oh, another day in paradise down here, living the dream.
Oh,
there you go. Yeah, I'm living the dream up here in this paradise of cold weather. That's exactly what I'm doing. So, you know. All right, Pensman said the Ball brothers played last night. All right, that's what Pensman says. So, all right. So anyway, let's get started here with the NFL coaching decisions and the NFL coaching. But first, we have to go to our sponsors. Mata Heating and Air Conditioning, our studio sponsor here, and we're here at 808 Studios in the Allentown section of the city of Pittsburgh. Mata Heating and Air Conditioning, 724-201-0500. Call Mata today. Heating and Air Conditioning. If your furnace is acting up and you're cold, call Mata today, and they will take very good care. We're simulcasted today on the Kneecap Biting Network, as well as Huddle Sports Network as well. All right. And then also Farmers Insurance by Robin Campbell, 412-366-3399. He's the sponsor for this next segment. Okay, guys, we have teams that need coaches. All right, I've had this discussion many times on many shows, and we're going to continue it until we find out where some of these guys are going. Mike, since you're our guest, we'll start with you. What is your thoughts on the current coaching situation, the carousel, and who's going to hire who and where, and who's going to go where? Your thoughts?
Well, one job's off, and that was the most obvious one. I think Mike Vrabel to the New England Patriots.
The New England Patriots, yes.
A blind man could have seen that one coming.
I like that one.
it only that one only made sense. As far as the other ones that are out there, I think a lot of coaches that people are looking at are coaching this weekend. I wouldn't be surprised if Cliff Kingsbury gets a good look after what he's been able to do with Jalen here with the Commanders.
Right.
Regardless of what you think of the Baltimore Ravens, I got to believe both of their coaches are high in the running for some of these openings, and certainly Glenn and Ben Johnson up your way, Jeremy. It'll be interesting to see. I know that the Raiders are very interested in Ben Johnson. It's just hard because some of these jobs that are open, you got to look and you got to wonder, like, I know that they're one of 32, but there are reasons why these jobs are open. And if I'm a first-time head coach, where do I want to hitch my wagon? Where do I feel like I could be the most successful? The Raiders don't have a quarterback. If you're dealing with the Bears, you've got to deal with Caleb Williams. And based on his media performances, maybe not as much as game performances, but definitely his media performances, he strikes me as a bit of a diva. If you're going for the Jets, you got to deal with Woody Johnson and all that comes along with that. There's a lot of it's late at night and all the good dates have been taken. So you got to, it's a lot of looking around the parking lot and seeing what's left.
There you go. All right, Leo Haggerty, your thoughts on the coaching hirings here?
Guys, when you look around the league right now, you got the Raiders, you got the Jaguars, you got the Bears, and you're sitting here wondering, why would somebody want to go there? And the biggest problem in Jacksonville is not the talent level, it's the general manager, Trent Baalke. I mean, when Byron came back 2 years ago after interviewing for that job before they hired Peterson, he said, I will not go there as long as Trent Baalke's there. I go, whoa, what's going on down in Jacksonville? And the fact that the owner got rid of a guy with a Super Bowl ring as opposed to getting rid of his general manager, that just baffles me what's going on. But again, I agree with Mike. I think that you're going to see very few hirings, including Dallas, until after the Super Bowl, because they're going to wait, because there's some people they want to talk to. Kellen Moore of Philadelphia is one. Liam Cohen had an interview down in Jacksonville this week. And, I think I'm on the interview list at Jacksonville anyway. So they're going to talk to 1 million people.
Hey, I'm doing a Zoom interview with them.
Yeah.
On Monday.
Yeah.
Mine's on Tuesday.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you.
Wow, that's amazing.
Well, Jeremy, when are you in?
Oh, well.
No, Jeremy's
I think mine's
man.
Thursday. I think mine's Thursday. They want me to do it after they talk to Ben Johnson. But Ben Johnson so far looks like he's, I'm going to say the favorite because that's what all the reports are saying. But at the same time, he was the favorite for 6 jobs last year out of 7 openings, if you remember right. And he ended up it got narrowed down to 1 because he only accepted 2 interviews. This year he's done 7 interviews, and I'm happy for him. But at the same time, I go back to what he said. I think Aaron Glenn's the only one of the 2 coordinators we lose. Because
all right, guys,
he
in the comment section. Oh, I'm sorry, Jeremy. Go ahead.
He looks like he's ready to be a head coach. And the key statement where I don't think Ben Johnson's quite there yet, he said, head coach is my long-term goal. But right now I'm having fun as an OC. So it's going to have to take a special job. And we already said there's no special jobs here this year. There's not a one. And so that's why I think Ben Johnson returns. And if he does go, so be it. I think we got people in place that could fill in for him.
Jeremy, the word around Washington was when Ben Johnson interviewed that he just is a different type of person, right? He's not that like alpha male type of guy that a lot of players gravitate to. He's a little bit more reserved. He was taking communication lessons, like he'd gone to a coach for that sort of stuff. Is he the type of person who just, like, head coach may not be his bailiwick? He's a great communicator, but putting him out in front as the CEO of an organization just may not be the most comfortable fit for him.
Right, and I think that's actually a lot of it that's going on, and that's why he said that specific sentence about head coach is my long-term goal, but might not be in my immediate future. You know, when somebody says something like that and they're still getting all these interviews, it's to me it's not a red flag, but it does put up a warning sign. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Hey, slow down.
Let me ask you this, guys. Do you think these organizations are bringing him in because their fan base is probably going to say, why are you not interviewing this guy? Now they can say, okay, we talked to him.
Right. I think that's what it is more of this year, because last year there was 7 jobs and he declined 5 of them right away.
Yeah.
I think that you bring him in because you actually want to talk to him. You want to pick his brain. You want to see who he is. And if you feel like he is the right guy, what type of support system do you have to put around him so that he's going to be successful? If he's not going to be the type that's going to be the fiery leader who's out there, like, or the great presence, you might need to have some bigger personalities in the coordinators' chairs.
And
All right, guys. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just said
Okay.
Patty made a great comment there. Not
Yes, she
every
did.
coordinator can be a head coach. How many
No.
coordinators have we seen that just they're better off to stay in their lane?
Yeah,
Especially
like
in
Jim
the last,
Caldwell. How many times has he had coached and, stay in his lane? And, Cliff Kingsbury the first time around, and I can name you a whole bunch of people, that were head coaches and failed. Mike Shanahan's been around. I mean, he'd be better off as a coordinator sometimes, so Broski Bear, King is Jay, and Josh, and I want to welcome Patty to the program as well. Thank you for your comments this morning, as always. And so there we are with that. Let's see what Broski Bear has to say. Jerry Jones most likely knows who he wants as their next head coach, so him waiting to hire means his guy is on a playoff team still playing. Yes, absolutely. And then Patty Grimes says Dick LeBeau. Dick LeBeau's not going to be a coach or anything. He's retired.
No,
He's in his.
that was an example of the great coordinator that couldn't make it.
Oh,
as a
yeah.
head coach.
Dick LeBeau was one of them. Yeah, absolutely, Patty. I do agree with you on that. He did not do well in Cincinnati. So, Vic Fangio's another one. There we go. That's a good one.
Broski Bear just brought him up.
Yeah. Yep. So all the coordinator names are coming up. I've always said this. Some people can bake a cake and some people can't. And it's the same way with football. You can be a coordinator, you can be a head coach. And the biggest mistake that I think that some of these coordinators that become head coaches they try to micromanage their position. If they're a defensive coach, they try to micromanage the defense instead of letting the coordinator do his job. And that's, it's worked for Andy Reid, but that's Andy Reid. Okay. And, but he has Matt Nagy in his ear too, that can say, hey, Andy, maybe we don't need to go with this player or whatever,
Right.
So, and
what, guys, I want to throw this out because I'm seeing this stuff coming up, and I think we need to comment on this. It's being broken now that the Bears have contacted the Steelers for a trade for Mike Tomlin. I think that's ludicrous.
Yeah, it is ludicrous. That's not going to happen. That's an erroneous report, actually, I believe.
Yeah,
so,
Leo, it's one of those things where maybe you do it to check the box to say you did it, because like you brought up, the fan base would like to see it. You want to see if he might be interested in doing it. But Mike's he has already said he's not leaving Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has already said they're not trading him or letting him go. So, it's one of those things. Okay, yeah, now we did it. We can move on.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you know what? The Pittsburgh Steelers were contacted. They gave permission for Arthur Smith to interview with the Bears. Arthur Smith is also interviewing with the Jets. Good for him. I hope he leaves and goes. We had a rough season with him this year. His play calling was atrocious. And, so with all this talent that we actually do have, we weren't able to get where we needed to be and had a losing streak that just didn't stop. And, there's a lot of reasons for this. And Mike will be joining me on Tuesday for the Sports Corner Show at 4 o'clock. Talk about the Steelers, the Ravens, and the Commanders. All right, we have these games coming up this week. And I want to say to Leo, I was going to say, sorry to hear about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers losing to Washington, but it was a good football game. And I want to say they gave a great effort, but you know what? They came up short, and sometimes that's what happens.
You know
All
what,
right.
Ralph? It's funny you should bring that up because I did a Zoom interview with ABC7 out of DC, and Natalie Spalla asked me, what's the Bucs' biggest fear playing the Commanders? And I just said, having the Commanders have the ball at the end of the game with a chance to win or tie.
Right.
And she said, well, why is that? I said, because Jaden Daniels forces you to play a soft zone when it's crunch time. You cannot play man-to-man and lose sight of this guy because this guy is a reincarnation of Michael Vick. He's the fastest guy on the field. So Washington came out, knew exactly what the Bucs were doing, soft zone, 17 plays. Slowly. It was like watching Novocaine work because they just marched right down the field. And then to just add insult to injury, they doinked the field goal.
Yeah, I like the doink. I like the doink noise. I like how that happens. That's pretty funny. So anyway, but go ahead, Jeremy.
I kind of saw the same thing. They just methodically drove down. There was I think it was 7 minutes left when they got the ball.
I think 6, right in there. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like either 7:12 or 6:50 or something like that.
Yeah.
It was in that range, and I was like, well, let's see how this goes. And it was like a yard and a half here, 3 yards there, a chunk for 5 or 6, then another yard.
Brosky Bear says that he thinks the Texans can take the Chiefs. You know what? Anything can happen in the NFL. And on any given Sunday, and we all know that. And or any given Saturday or whatever days these games are on, because the NFL is greedy and they keep putting them on all these days. Pretty soon, you're going to have 7 days a week of the NFL the way the NFL is going. So, I mean, but anyway, the game's coming up this week, guys. Let's analyze those. And this next segment is brought to you in part by Keystone Coachworks. I was just there this week to get my something done on my van. I have a handicap accessible van. Call Keystone Coachworks today, 412-833-1900. Ask for Dawn and tell Dawn that Ralph Williams sent you. And Keystone Coachworks, financing available if you can't afford to pay on right away. Let me tell you something. If you're handicapped and in a wheelchair as I am, you want to get around, this is your best option. Call Keystone Coachworks. They will fit your van the way you want it to be fit, and they have great vans with low mileage at a great price. All right. Our next segment here, we're going to analyze the games coming up this week. All right. So we'll start with you, Jeremy. I know the Detroit Lions are playing the Commanders this week. What's your thoughts on that game?
One's a high-powered offense, and one is one of those slow, methodical, but can hit you over the top at times. But if you actually look at EVOA, which is like the explosive plays downfield, the Lions are averaging an 8.9 this year, and the Commanders are averaging a 5.9, and that's quite a disparity. That means that the Lions are having 3 or 4 explosive plays downfield versus 1 or 2 for the Commanders. And I think that's the difference in the game because they don't have that explosive down the field stopping defense. What they have is a defense that tries to smother you in the first 5 yards.
All right. Brosky Bear says, I'm not sure the Chiefs can flip the playoff switch this time around. All right.
That coupled with the fact that we average over 30 points a game and they average right around 20, I think and as far as defensively, it's actually pretty close if you look at the points given up. So,
all right.
I think
okay, thank you, John. I'm sorry, Jeremy. Go ahead.
I think it'll be a close game and a well contested matchup, but I think Detroit comes out on top. I think it might
gotta
be
give
at most a 10-point game.
I got to give Commanders a lot of credit. They really have done a really good job coming into playoffs and winning these games. So, all right, here we go. It's John from the South Side. John, thank you for being part of the program. Really appreciate it. South Side of Pittsburgh. Thank you for that as well, John. And Leo, your thoughts on the games this weekend coming up? Texans, Chiefs, Detroit versus the Washington Commanders, the Ravens versus Buffalo. We have one other game that I'm missing here, and I'm trying to think of which one it is.
Rams.
Yeah, the Rams in Philly. Yeah. All right, we'll start with you, Leo. Or I'm sorry, go ahead, Leo.
Well, let me take them one at a time. I think the Eagles beat the Rams because it's going to be a very close game. It's probably going to be Eagles 21, Rams 21, and Mother Nature 10. Because it's supposed to snow, it's supposed to be cold, and the Rams on a short week coming cross country. I like the Eagles. Jeremy, I'm going to throw this one back to you because I think this is going to be a very interesting matchup in Detroit because the Lions like to play a lot of man, and they like to lock their linebackers up early on tight ends and running backs. The problem is, again, like I said with the Bucks, you play man, you lose sight of Jaden Daniels. Now, what do you want to do? Do you want to play man and force him to pull the ball down and go through his progressions? Or do you want to play zone and let him pick you apart like he did against Tampa Bay? So I think this is going to be a high-scoring game in Detroit. I think it's going to be in the 30s, 38, 31 in there. Just because, again, teams coming off the bye are a little rusty. That's why I think the Texans have a shot. They got a puncher's shot up in Kansas City because if you look at Kansas City, I think they've won 15 games in the last 2 minutes. So
it was 11. It was 11. I actually did the math. I went back and looked. They had 11 one-score games. They won at the last second.
Isn't that amazing? And you know what? You don't like to live on that plateau because you can fall off.
It's funny that it's 11 because you know what other team did that had a good record and was almost the number 1 seed and lost in the wild card round?
Lay it on me, big boy.
The 2021 Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, God, yes. Yeah. Yeah. And
I mean, I see a lot of analogies to that. You know what I'm saying with what's going on with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
All right.
And the last game we need to look at is that Baltimore-Buffalo game. And in Baltimore, and Mikey, I'm going to let you jump in here on this one too. If they don't feed Derrick Henry 20 times, they deserve to lose. Because Derrick Henry, everybody talks about Jackson, but Derrick Henry is the engine that drives that bus because it forces teams to put 7 or 8 in the box. And now Jackson can just sit back there and watch and pick out a receiver.
You talked about it being cold for the Eagles game in Philadelphia. It's going to look completely, cold is putting it mildly for what it's going to be in Buffalo around game time for that matchup. I think a lot of pressure is on Baltimore to avenge what happened last year when they had the home playoff game against the Chiefs and they failed to run the ball like we thought they could. And it's getting to the point with Baltimore and Lamar Jackson, if not now, when, and if not them, who. So I think that Todd Monken has had the answer for an entire season about why they got away from their game plan and were chasing a game that they were only ever trailing by about 10 points against the Chiefs and kind of yacked all over themselves at home. That said, the Buffalo team is a bit of a juggernaut. So I expect this one's going to be it's going to be close. It might be a lot of points. I expect that they're going to stuff Derrick Henry like a good old-fashioned holiday turducken. But I know one thing, as much as he plays in Baltimore, Lamar Jackson does not necessarily love playing in the cold, and that might be the difference. As far as the Commanders and the Lions go, it's funny that you all both said that that last drive took 6 or 7 minutes. In reality, that last drive against the Bucs last week was only 4 minutes and 41 seconds. It just seemed
wow.
like it was a lot longer.
Yeah,
You know what, Mike? I'm going to jump in there real quick. The first game, Tampa Bay beat Washington 37-23. Well, guess what? The defense gave up the same amount of points. The offense only scored 20, but here's why. The Bucs had 7 possessions the entire game. The defense couldn't get off the field. Washington I think they had the ball almost 40 minutes. It was crazy.
It was about 36, 37. Yeah, so close to 40. And that was but you also got to look at how many times the Commanders went for it on 4th down, the 2 turnovers on downs that they gave up, a couple of empty possessions where they would get down to inside the red zone, go for it on 4th down, turnover on downs. They had the ball down at the 1 and couldn't score a touchdown. You cannot play Detroit, as you mentioned, Jeremy, with the explosiveness of their offense. You can't expect to limit them to 7 possessions and give up essentially 4 scoring plays, right? That's not going to happen against Detroit.
They're not going to be able to this year. It's only happened once this year, and that was week 2.
Yeah. And the Commanders, yes, they have scored 28 points, but that's been 28 points a game, but that's been boosted a lot by a 40-point outing against the Browns and a 40-point beat down of the Panthers. Other than that, they're about a 20 to 24-point team. If you look over the last couple of weeks, they've been right around 24 points. Each one of their last 5 games has been a walk-off score. I don't know what the history books tell you. I don't know the record for winning on the last play of a game, most consecutive victories, but I got to believe that this win streak that the Commanders are on is up there. They are a lot like the island of misfit toys. Like it's this Frankenstein that somebody put together with cast-off parts that nobody else wanted, that somehow have all found a home with Dan Quinn, and they can continue to be successful. But outside of Jaden Daniels to Terry McLaurin, tell me what it is that they do exceptionally well.
Hold the football.
And
exactly.
They can try and possess that ball as much as they want. But I don't think that you can expect to run Jaden Daniels as often as they did. And remember, Leo, I don't think he had over 60 yards in the game rushing. It just seemed like he ran for 100 yards.
I think he had really like 39 or 49 yards, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like 39 yards. He seemed like he ran forever in a day, but he didn't. This is a game where I'm interested to see if Brian Robinson, the guy that they have talked so much about, they've been so hyped about becoming their number 1 running back, if he actually shows up. Because here's a kid who's playing in his 4th NFL season who has yet to get over 800 yards from rushing in a single season. He's in a position where he's in line for a new contract coming up. And if there's ever a game to earn it, this one would be it. That said, I just don't think that the Washington team has the ability, the talent level to go toe-to-toe with Detroit. Even if Detroit's banged up on defense, they can't get into a shootout because they don't have the explosiveness outside of Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin. Now, Scary Terry can take the top off of defense, but if you limit him, you're going up against Olamide Zaccheaus and De'Ami Brown. I know De'Ami has had a great game the last couple of weeks, but I don't know how scared I am of those guys beating me. Brian Robinson has got to run the ball, and he hasn't necessarily proven that he can do that really effectively. I just don't think that the game that the Commanders like to play with that ball control is going to suit them against an explosive Detroit Lions. So I'm expecting the Lions to win. Look, the Rams don't like to play outside. It is going to be nasty in Philadelphia. I'm seeing Philadelphia win. And everybody keeps saying the Chiefs can't win. The Texans, I loved how the Texans played last week, but until the king is dead, the king is still the king.
Hey.
And Vegas
I'm on
they
board.
didn't build those buildings out in Vegas by being wrong often. Death taxes and Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs are a couple of things that you can guarantee.
All right, guys, we're gonna go to our studio sponsor, Mata Heating and Air Conditioning, 724-201-0500. Call Mata Heating and Air Conditioning. And just a show note: 2:00 this afternoon, 2 to 3 p.m., 12:50 a.m., 92.5. The Answer. This show is really peaking on Saturdays. We have taken over Saturdays in sports talk radio, and that's me, Ralph Williams, Smoking Jim Frazier, Claudia Rosano, and Luther Dupree. We talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Steelers season on this broadcast. And also, next couple of weeks, we're going to be dissecting why and what happened with the Steelers season this year as well. And don't forget, if you're interested in some sponsorship advertising for RW Media Productions, you get 6 podcasts. Also, don't forget, I have 2 shows that will be broadcasting now on the Huddle Sports Network. The External Bum here every Saturday morning, 9 to 10 a.m., and that's on Roku, and it will broadcast live throughout some other platforms as well, Huddle Sports Network. And Wednesday nights, 11 p.m., one of the Sports Corner shows will be on. It's either going to be our Tuesday night show, the Sports Corner show with me and Smoking Jim Frazier, or the radio show from today will be on there on Wednesdays at 11 p.m. on the Huddle Sports Network. I just worked that deal out today with them. I want to thank Michael and the guys at Huddle Sports Network for letting me put my shows on their network. I want to thank you, Jeremy, because I know you're on there as well, and you helped me out with that a little bit. And Leo, I want to thank you as well. I'll be in the next couple of weeks. I'll be working with you guys a little bit more at Amped Up Sports as well, and then Mike as well for coming on, and all you experts from Amped Up Sports. Also, Friday, Thursday night, you can join me. I'm a co-host on the Fire Up Show on the South Florida Tribune Network every Thursday night at 9 o'clock as well. All right, this segment's brought to you by RW Media Productions and the sponsorship advertising. Not only do you get 6 podcasts, you get 2 radio shows, and you also get a spot on my website, www.rwmediaproductions.com. So call today, 412-545-4317, or email ralphwilliams737@gmail.com. And you can also go to the comment section here on the emails. Some people like to email me instead of commenting. And I have an email here from Harry in the Brentwood section of Pittsburgh. He says, Ralph, love the show. Was told by Draft Nation, the one of your sponsors, about your show. Love your External Bum show and all the stuff you produce as well. Also like the opinions of Jeremy, Leo, and Mike in today's show. So there you go. All right, that's Harry from Brentwood section. Yes, it is. Yeah, we're starting to get some emails here as well. And this show is really peaking. It's really going well for this show as well. And I want to thank Jeremy BALLREICCH for letting for simulcasting it on his network as well. All right, let's get back to the show here. Let's talk about the national championship game on Monday, Ohio State versus Notre Dame. And also, I forgot to mention my other bum, Penn State. I cannot believe that James Franklin and his gang blew it again to try to get to the national championship. But I want to give them credit for at least getting as far as they have. And there was a lot of criticism of James Franklin, just like there's criticism in Ohio State about Ryan Day. And look where he's at now. There was criticism about Marcus Freeman in Notre Dame. Look where they're at. You know, everybody takes criticism for where they are. Leo, we'll start with you. Notre Dame versus Ohio State, your pick.
Well, Ralph, if you remember back in August, Jeremy, you probably remember too, when you asked me who was going to win the national championship, I said Ohio State. So yes. I'm going to ride that horse till it dies. And again, I started to look at that Michigan game almost like a conspiracy, that the Ohio State game plan was terrible. Well, I talked to some people, and it has been verified that Chip Kelly had an entirely different game plan for the 3 playoff games. Entirely different. When he boat raced Oregon never saw any of these plays during the 12-game season. And again, Tennessee, same thing. He had a plethora of plays in his arsenal that he hadn't shown. Same thing happened with Texas. I mean, when you look at what's going on here with Ohio State, they were kind of laying in the weeds because they knew they were going to get in the playoffs. They were very happy not having to play that extra game. And look at both teams, Notre Dame and Ohio State. The 7th and the 8th seed didn't play in a championship game. Penn State and Texas looked exhausted in that 3rd and 4th quarter, having to play that extra game. I think Ohio State wins. Probably going to be a closer game than people think, but I'm thinking on the lines of 27-21 Buckeyes.
All right, Brosky Bear here says the James Franklin experience. He says Alter played like a bum, and then like he does in all big games as well. Penn State needs to start landing name receiver talent. Yeah, they're good with tight end talent, running backs, receivers, here and there, and their quarterbacks have been average to run their quarterbacks manage the game, and that's about as far as they go. But they have two very good, and I'll repeat, very good recruiters who recruit in Western Pennsylvania. High school coach of the year by Sports Illustrated 2 years ago, Bob Palco, and Terry Smith from Gateway High School, where my co-host Smoking Jim Frazier is an alum there. It says Allure 0 completions to wide receivers for the game. Unacceptable. Absolutely. I agree, Brosky Bear, with that game plan as well.
He had more completions to defensive backs than wide receivers.
Yeah. He threw more to the other side. I like that. All right, Jeremy, your thoughts on this game?
I said it before. If you go back throughout this past, since 2000, that's the new millennial. That's what everybody always talks about. They don't like to talk about the history anymore that's ancient because the game has evolved past it. Am I wrong about that, guys? I mean, that's whether it's college or NFL. The game has evolved past the old smash mouth 3 yards in a cloud of dust football. We're looking at different. The NCAA seems to be a little bit more progressive because it's the NFL farm system. And that's where these great coordinators come from. They come from college, go to the pros. And if they make it, they all of a sudden everybody goes, oh, wow, look, he's so new and inventive. And really, it's just finding a new way to spit shine a turd. But anyways, I said, if you go back since 2000, and back in 2000, there was a great rivalry called this, and I think it's that 2.0 because Ohio State has always been under scrutiny for one thing or another every year. Or you hear about players getting in trouble. This is the Catholics versus convicts 2.0. That's what I see. Even though Ohio State hasn't been in as much trouble the last 6 years, that's because they got a coach that's more of a mouse than a lion. Ryan Day is a great coach in the regular season, but this is his best postseason. And I think that Michigan loss was like a propellant to wake up him as a coach. I think he needed it to wake up because we haven't seen this out of him all year.
All right, let's see here. Brosky Bear says, I'm Catholic and I can't stand Notre Dame. I'm a big person, so I'm rooting for Ohio State. All right, Brosky Bear. There you go.
But I think Ohio State wins it overall. I just think overall, talent for talent, when you match it up on the paper, the coaching level is about the same. Marcus Freeman, Ryan Day, they're both good. Neither one has been great, but they're having a great season. So I think the slight edge because of the experience goes to Ohio State.
Okay, Mike, your thoughts on this game?
Remember that guy by the name of Brian Kelly who said that he was going to LSU because he needed the resources to win a national championship?
It hasn't.
How's that move going? Because I seem to see Marcus Freeman in the national championship game after a playoff. I have had the opportunity to see plenty of Notre Dame both on TV and live when they were playing against Army up at Yankee Stadium. I got to tell you, the Notre Dame defense, I think, is a lot quicker than people realize. Like, they are good. They are a lot faster than you think they are. That said, Ohio State's just got that player. Jeremiah Smith is that guy, right? And I just don't think that Notre Dame has a player quite like that. Notre Dame's defense will keep them in the game, but Ryan Day, with a big lift from Chip Kelly, who is another one who should just stay in college and stay as coordinator, with a big lift from Chip Kelly, gets it done. Because make no mistake about it, Ryan Day is another one who's kind of coaching for his job. If you're the Ohio State head coach, you have two jobs: win national championships and beat Michigan. Guess what Ryan Day has failed to do throughout his tenure at Ohio State? And this might be, his last shot to do it. I think he gets it done. I just think that Ohio State has that couple of guys that you need. And in college, more so than in the pros, if you have that one or two guys, that's all you need to win a national championship.
Well, I'll tell you what, speaking of that, Mike, and I'm going to say a couple of things in regards to beating Michigan and Ohio State. In the mid-'90s, Pitt played Ohio State at the old Pitt Stadium. And at the time, I was driving a cab, and I was taking some very formal, and I mean a top-notch Ohio State alum to the game. And the guy said to me that was there in the cab with me, he said, "You know what the problem with John Cooper is?" I said, "What's that?" "He can't beat Michigan. And if you don't beat Michigan and Ohio State, you will get fired no matter what you do, because that's their biggest game. That's the game that they really, it's a rivalry that is really hot." And my thoughts on this game is this. This is going to be a chess match between Chip Kelly and Al Golden, who's the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame. That is where the chess match is going to be in this game. Can, as you said, Mike, Notre Dame's speed shut down Chip Kelly's offense? Okay, that's going to be the key points there in that game. And I think this game's going to be a dogfight more than it's going to be a blowout or of any kind of proportion on Monday night. And I'm going to have to watch it on another set, because I watch Monday Night Raw, and it's on Netflix now, and I can't be going back and forth like I used to. So, all right, Dwayne Keene come in, says, "Good morning, y'all." Thank you, Dwayne, being part of the program. Much appreciated. Dale as well. Let's put his comment back up. "Good morning, everyone. Nothing better than a game day Saturday." Absolutely.
Sure.
Game day all weekend. Seems like they're, doing a lot. And then also, Broski Bear says Notre Dame beat Penn State, or being the made big pass plays. They made their biggest pass plays of the season against PSU, and it isn't happening against Ohio State. Ohio State wins, and it's not close. All right, and Dwayne says Michigan Wolverines is winning again against Ohio State this year and Michigan State. All right. All righty, guys. Let's get started here. One more segment before we go to our local. It's going to be real quick here. I don't mean to do it that way, but DraftNation.com is our sponsor, the sponsor for this segment. Get on DraftNation.com. They're the pros at all the four drafts, whether it's NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, or the NFL. DraftNation.com. They also have an e-magazine, $9.99 a month in your inbox. Check out Draft Nation today. Tom, Ralph Williams sent you some of my programming is on there, and also I'm a sponsor for Draft Nation, and they sponsor this all my programs as well. All right, let's get started. Bob Uecker, real quick, passed away this week, 90 years old. He was a baseball player, great announcer, and also was very funny at some things he did. He's also in the WWE Hall of Fame in the celebrity wing. So, Bob Uecker, he's one of the better ones. George Eichhorn pointed out on Thursday on the Fire Up Show that he's just like Bob Prince from the Pirates, who used to broadcast and say, "You can kiss it goodbye." And Bob Uecker, like Myron Cope as well for the Steelers, had some great lines that he did when he was an announcer. Start with you, Leo. Bob Uecker.
Oh, Bob Uecker played in Philadelphia for a while, and he was hysterical to watch because I can remember one time he overthrew the pitcher throwing the ball back, and the runner from third scored. he was the most self-effacing person I've ever talked to, because he made fun of himself more than anybody, and he made a career out of it. I can remember him in Major League, just outside, and it was like 6 feet. It was great watching him, and he had the best lines to come into that. I mean, when the guy hits a home run for the Yankees, he goes, "Oh, that one's leaving the reservation." I go, "Okay, that's great." Can't say it now, but it was great. Tell you what, we'll miss Bob Uecker and his Eucharisms.
All right, Jeremy, real quick, Bob Uecker.
Well, it's funny you said that because I watched Major League last night again because that movie's great. I love the line, and I use it when I'm talking about my Lions. I say it all the time. And this week is Die Hard night, where any fan that was alive the last time this team won a championship gets free admission.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. All right, Mike SISZAK from Amped Up Sports. Go ahead, Mike.
Joe Boo!
Just because Joe Boo makes an appearance
Joe
in memory
Boo!
of Bob Uecker.
Hey, Joe Boo. He needs a refill.
We never know whether Joe Boo is going to show up or not. We bring him offerings. Yes, high and just a bit outside was one of the best lines. I loved him in that movie. He is the announcer, channeling everybody. He made a great career out of being a good announcer and a so-so baseball player. So he will be missed. Along the same lines, hey, the soccer world lost a big star yesterday. Dennis Law, the last of the Holy Trinity for Manchester United, passed late yesterday. Hence, number 7 jersey behind me.
Yeah, I don't know much about that stuff, Mike. You're more of an expert at that. But Manchester United, from what I do know, we have a guy here on the radio. I'm not going to mention his name because he don't mention mine on his shows. But he follows it big time. In fact, he even goes to these games, and watches them. He likes Manchester United, and I think they're one of the. I believe, if I'm correct, Mike, they're one of the better teams in this in the soccer world. So
bigger teams, yes. Right, most decorated teams, yes. Better right now, not so much. But
much, right?
It says in, I believe it says in Acts chapter 6, verse 18, and the Lord said, "The sun shall shine on every dog's ass once in a while."
Right.
There you go.
Right? I heard that if they don't pick up the pace, there's a chance that they could be regulated down this year for Manchester. So the next level down.
Yeah, they're
okay.
It's a possibility, but that's very, very, very unlikely.
It's just the first time I've seen that in print, I think, in my lifetime about Manchester United. That they're playing at that for a level.
The last time that they got relegated, Dennis Law was the guy that scored the goal for Manchester City that sent Manchester United down.
That's a big, but a big boon to the guy that you were talking about. May he rest in heaven.
All right, guys. All right, our final segment of the day. Here's our local segment where we go around. Everyone tells us what's going on in their area. So here we are here. But first, we're going to go to our studio sponsor, Mata Heating and Air Conditioning, 724-201-0500. We're here live every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. and a little over sometimes for the External Bum Show with me, Ralph Williams, Jeremy Ballrich, Leo Haggerty, Scott Morganroth, who's off right now for some shows, and filling in is Mike SISZAK. Mike, I want to thank you for being part of the program today as well. And also our sponsor for this segment is the original Hometown Pizza, Moon Township, right on University Boulevard, 412-264-4444. The original Hometown Pizza, eat in, take out, or delivery in the Moon Township area. Hey, look, if you're out shopping today, which I believe you are, running around getting toilet paper, paper towels, milk, and bread and eggs, because we're about to have a big cold spell here and get below 0 temperatures and some snow. So I know you're out there doing that. Stop at the original Hometown Pizza and pick up a delicious pizza. And they got some really good hoagies on a sort of an odd kind of a bun. But you know what? Check it out as well. And check out the original Hometown Pizza in Moon Township. Tell them Ralph Williams sent you, get a discount on your order. All right, let's get started with our local segment. Mike, you're our guest. Here's our special guest. So go ahead. You go first.
It's pretty simple what's going on in this area. We
Yeah.
got NFL
The
playoffs.
inauguration on Monday.
We've got the inauguration, but before that, we've got a couple of NFL playoffs games.
Right.
Baltimore and the Commanders. But lurking slightly in the background, the Grade 8 OV Watch is really and truly officially on. As soon as these playoffs are over, I think attention is going to focus on Alexander Ovechkin. He is scoring. I don't think that it's any doubt that he gets to 895 anymore. The question is, how far over 900 does he actually go?
Right.
What's the ad now, Mike? 23 to get?
Yeah, he's at 870. It's 23. I don't think he scored last night, so it's 23. I will tell you, you can't get a Capitals ticket for the spring right now.
Right.
All right.
Everybody is. It is. Everybody is trying to figure out what game it's going to be because that is the hottest ticket in town.
And you know what, guys? I'm going to jump into this because I was up in Laurel, Maryland, when the Capitals won the Cup. His 7-day splurge hitting every bar in Washington is legendary. I don't think the guy slept for a week. Him and the rest of those guys. Mike, did you hear the same thing?
Hear it. I saw it. Like, they would just show up. You could be eating dinner in Georgetown, and all of a sudden, there's a bunch of Capitals swimming around in a fountain with cup. Like, you got to love them. One of the things that I love about that team, that organization, those players, when they won the Cup, they definitely were out and about, and they were celebrating, and they had a very, very, very good time. The thing that I remember most about it was at the end of the week, Alexander Ovechkin put out a picture of him with the cup in bed.
All right.
He finally just passed out. The cup was right next to him. He had this big, toothless grin on his face, and he was like, I'm done celebrating. It's time to take a nap.
All right. There you go. All right, Mike, tell us a little bit about yourself and how people can get a hold of you. And also, I know you work with AMPTED Sports and everything else. We're going to do this double take here because we got to get ready to get off the air.
Yep.
So go ahead.
Mike SISZAK, you can catch me on the Too Many Guys Soccer Show, the worst 120 minutes or so in all of sports podcasting, where we cover the entire world of soccer on Tuesdays normally. You can also catch me on AMPTED Sports. And Ralph, I'll be joining you again on your show on Tuesday to talk about the Commanders, the Ravens, and the Steelers.
The Steelers, that's it. You're right. All right. Thank you very much for that. Leo Haggerty, you're local, and how people can get a hold of you.
Well, you know what, guys? We have a triple header down here in Tampa today. USF men, they're at 3 o'clock. The USF women are at 6 o'clock, and the Lightning play at 7. So unless I could clone myself, I don't know if I'm going to make all 3. But it's definitely a great sports day down here. And again, if you want to catch my daily podcast, my daily rant, whatever you want to call it, go to YouTube, AMPTED Sports. You can pick us up there, Instagram and everything. And we're trying to get our 2 photographers into the Masters. That's a tough sell. We're going to try to get them in there. And we got 2 other photographers that are going to try to do the Florida Derby, which is Orlando and Miami, and then go down to the NFL Pro Bowl stuff down in Orlando. So we got some stuff happening in the next month or 2.
What, the Pro Bowl? I call it the Pro Bowl.
The touch football game. Yeah.
Hey, I like the skills competition better. I think there's a couple of them that need to be taken out and replaced with some of the old school ones. But other than that, the Pro Bowl isn't the same anymore. Let's face it. But here locally, it's amazing the turnaround we're seeing with some of these teams that nobody thought would be turning around. Ever since McClellan got hired in to replace Derek Lalonde, the Red Wings are quietly having a decent season.
Yes,
the Pistons under Jake, whatever his name is, God, I can't even get it my tongue tied. But we've actually went on like a 11-3 run in the last 14 games for the Pistons, and they're quietly getting into the hey, they might make the playoff standings. And it's really good to see. And when you hear these guys talk, you hear them say things that Dan Campbell and the Lions players are saying about being gritty. And it's amazing how that statement is starting to embody the city of Detroit through all the sports teams. And don't be surprised if this is the year we see a lot of Detroit teams in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the Detroit Tigers did pretty, quite well last year. They didn't do too bad. And but anyway, Jeremy, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you and what you have going on.
Well, I go live all the time here on my network, which is Kneecap Biting with the Motor City Lions. I am going to continue writing. I'm working on launching my own platform and publishing on there. So look forward to KCB Sports Network coming soon to a website near you. And
All right, there you go,
thank you
Jeremy.
very much.
Congrats on that. Congrats on that. I'm glad you're getting that up and running. You can reach me. My local is this. The Pittsburgh Penguins got rid of Tristan Jarry recently, and Yadelkovich did quite well last night. They were able to beat the Buffalo Sabres 5-2. And also, Evgeny Malkin, I don't know if a lot of you heard, got his house broken into, and they found his Stanley Cup rings in his safe. So everything was fine with that. They didn't steal any. They didn't steal that. The thieves that did steal out of Malkin's house have nothing to do with Travis Kelce or Patrick Mahomes and all the other people that have been getting robbed in the NFL. This was just an isolated incident locally here. They have an idea who the suspects are, and they are pursuing to arrest them. So Evgeny Malkin is safe as far as with that. And and you know what? My other bum here today is the news media in this town. Evgeny Malkin asked the news media to please keep this private. They went ahead and showed his house. They kept talking about it and talking about it. He said, can you please keep this private? Don't show my house. Don't show, they kept on doing it. They kept on reporting from his house. I think the media in this town needs to wake up and listen. Listen, the man wanted privacy. All right, listen to that, privacy. And that's my local. You can get a hold of me on YouTube. I have my own YouTube channel. Please subscribe. I need 4 more subscribers to get back up to 200 because I was down or up to 202, and now I'm back down again to 190 or 196 for some apparent reason. I don't know why, but anyway. And then also you can follow me on Twitter X platform. I'm also on Facebook, LinkedIn, Tumblr, and I also have 2 radio shows on 1250 AM, 92.5 FM. The Answer. The Ralph Williams Show, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. and 2 to 3 p.m. every Saturday as well is the Sports Corner radio show with me, Ralph Williams, Smoking Jim Frazier, Claudia Rosano, and Luther Dupree, and also all kinds of different shows throughout the week. Check them out on my YouTube channel as well. And don't forget on Tuesday, the Wrestle Talk show right after Sports Corner. My guest is Daniel Polinsky, who has his own wrestling company and is the father of Corey Graves, who is a former announcer for the WWE and just stepped away. We're going to find out what's going on with Corey Graves and why he stepped away from the WWE. The rumor has it he was demoted to NXT, and he didn't like the demotion, can't work with Booker T. So from what I understand, that he left and quit. I don't blame him. He's been around for a long time, been very loyal to the WWE, and they just spit him out, like crazy. And I hate when that happens. But all right, for Jeremy Ballrich, Mike SISZAK, and Leo Haggerty, I am Ralph Williams for another edition. Thank you for being part of the External Bum Show, the comment section, and everywhere else that you're listening or watching. Please don't forget to tune in to all of our platforms, especially Amped Up Sports, the Kneecap Biting with Jeremy Ballrich, the South Florida Tribune, and also don't forget RW Media Productions. Until next time, have yourself a great one. Thank you for watching.
Have a great weekend, guys.
Yep. Take care.
Thank you.
Take care.
Shoot. Hold on. I can't get this where I need it to be. Why am I?